Tonight, people are bracing as a major winter storm barrels towards eastern Newfoundland.
You're not the only one dreading a Valentine's Day storm. People who run restaurants are not looking forward to the snow tomorrow. I'll have details on that live coming up.
Homeless encampments like this one, the federal housing advocate calls it a life and death crisis. A new report outlines causes and possible solutions on how to tackle it.
We can't be political about this anymore. It's not about politics, it is about saving lives. And lives matter.
I'll have that story just ahead.
We're really focusing on the deadline of August 2025.
For the first time since work began here at the Aqua Arena, Memorial University provided an update on how the project is going and also gave a glimpse inside what it looks like. I'm Jeremy Eaton, and that story straight ahead.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. Eastern Newfoundland is hunkering down for a serious winter storm. A big dumping of snow is not just expected to derail travel, but also Valentine's Day plans. Here and Now's Peter Cowan is standing by live. So Peter, let's start with the preparations. What's the City of St. John's doing in the lead up to this storm?
Carolyn, we're hearing much the same message that we hear anytime we're expecting a winter storm like this. They say the crews are ready, the equipment is ready, and they'll be out 24 hours a day in order to start clearing things up as soon as the snow starts falling. They are expecting a lot of snow, but they made it clear that we're not expecting a Snowmageddon level snowfall amounts. One of the big differences being just how long it's going to take for all this snow to build up. And we heard today from the city's deputy manager as well as from the province's transportation minister that crews are ready to handle this.
30 to 50 centimeters over 3 days is different than what we got in January 2020 for sure, right? So yeah, so we have a steady plan in place. We follow the same procedure every time. We're ready. The City of St. John's is ready.
We've all been given ample warning that there's a major storm coming, and we should all be prepared, hunker down, and stay safe.
And things are already shutting down. Air Canada, for example, has canceled some flights tonight into tomorrow as everyone anticipates the snow. And with everyone planning to stay inside, that's a problem for folks that rely on Valentine's Day business. So we're thinking things like restaurants. This is normally a very quiet season, and Valentine's Day is usually one of the bright spots where they get busy. But they're already looking at shutting down tomorrow. It's the snow and is just going to be painful on their backs from the shoveling. It's also going to be painful on their wallets. And I stopped by one restaurant to find out about the impact of losing that important day.
It seems to be the standard for Valentine's Day now in St. John's. 6 of 8 years, I think, is our count at this point for disrupted Valentine's Day reservations. Valentine's Day for the restaurant industry in most establishments would be, it will pay your bills for the month. It's what keeps the lights on. It's what makes payroll and rent happen. It's what keeps us open so that in June and July and August, when the tourists arrive, there are still restaurants in St. John's. We certainly rely on these special occasions through the winter. And especially when Valentine's Day, like this year, it falls on a Wednesday. So that makes for an even better week. We basically had a full house all week and have already started getting cancellations. So it's off the bottom line. And it's also our staff, they're not gonna get their shifts, they won't get their tips. It's not just the restaurant itself, it's everybody. My advice would be to not just straight up cancel. Try to find another night that works. And it doesn't have to be for a full-on 5-course big night out, just in any way that you can get out and support the restaurant industry through losing Valentine's Day through the winter, through other storms that I'm sure we're going to be faced with. It's, any way that you can get out and support, it helps, whether it's this weekend, next week, anytime at all is helpful. But yeah, consider rescheduling and not straight up canceling.
The big concern is that the storm is going to continue into Thursday, which could cancel even more plans. So let's bring in meteorologist Ashley Brauweiler, who's been studying that forecast very carefully. So Ashley, I'll ask you the question that I think everyone's wondering, just how bad do things look for tomorrow?
Yeah, they certainly don't look good. Indications, the forecast actually looking like we're on the upper end of the snowfall totals over the next couple of days. Now, like Peter mentioned, this is a long duration event. Looking at this continuing as we head into Friday. But there's that area of low pressure there just south of the Maritime provinces at the moment. This is not good news for those of you, especially in Cape Breton, where we did see significant snow. This definitely insult to injury for sure. We've got that area of low pressure at the moment, though, quiet across most of the province, which is nice. But we do still have some flurry activity happening on the west coast of the island, but most of that will move in. Most of the snow will move in with this area of low pressure. So Environment Canada has a number of warnings in place, winter storm warnings, as well as storm surge warnings all along the northeast coast there. For tomorrow night and into Thursday. Then we move across to Labrador, and winter storm warnings are in effect, as well as blowing snow advisories. So the headlines really over the next couple of days is that we will see the worst conditions tomorrow. That snow will continue through Friday, and snow for Labrador will continue through Saturday. I'll have more details coming up in a little bit.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, police are investigating a fatal fire in St. John's that happened Saturday afternoon at a home on Newfoundland Drive. Emergency crews responded around 4:30. The RNC says they found a woman inside the burning home. She was taken to hospital but died from her injuries. A new report from the Federal Housing Advocate paints a dark picture. Almost a year ago, Marie-Josée Houle launched a review of homeless encampments. Up to 25% of homeless people in Canada are living in those encampments. In her final report, Houle says there are ways to fix that, but politicians have to be on board. Here now's Henrika Wilhelm reports.
It is an issue of life and death for a lot of people.
One that has become all too common across Canada. Whether it's a large urban centre or a rural region, homeless encampments have become part of the landscape.
It is a physical manifestation of exactly how broken our housing and homelessness system is.
In an attempt to fix it, today's report calls on the federal government to have a national encampments response plan done by August 31st. In her report, Houle lists 6 action calls, like collaboration between government levels, more focus on long-term housing, but also access to basic necessities for those who choose tents over shelters.
No one thinks that encampments are a solution. They absolutely are not, but this is what people are choosing. And Canada has to have something in place to make sure that this is no longer what people are choosing.
Part of why people make that choice, says Houle, a broken shelter system full of barriers.
Shelters are important. They're there for emergencies. That's not a place for people to live.
A situation that's no different in St. John's, where about a dozen people continue to live in tents. Not surprising, says a local advocate.
There are no standards, so why would you want to stay there? And there's a reason that people are still here. And for whatever that reason is, they believe it's better than what they're being offered.
What they want instead, permanent, secure housing. And they want to be part of the conversation about how to get there.
Do we do that enough? Absolutely not. We don't hear from people. For example, the folks here at this encampment are being offered the same solutions that they've been offered for months.
While Wilson calls the report a positive step, he says it comes down to political will. So far, that's been lacking.
We can't even get a response by email or a phone call back from our Liberal MP on the issue and on the housing issues that are ongoing in our community.
We need the political will to make it happen, that all levels of government recognize that they have a role to play, but that the federal government has a leadership role to play, and that we can't be political about this anymore. It's not about politics, it is about saving lives.
Houle is hopeful the report will spark a meaningful discussion across all government levels. And while it is up to Federal Housing Minister Sean Fraser to now respond within 3 months, she says the task is so big and encompasses so many areas, one minister can't shoulder it by themselves. Henrika Wilhelm, CBC News, St. John's.
And when asked today about whether they'd have a response plan done by the August 31st deadline, the federal housing minister said they should be able to put forward what he calls a suite of measures to address homelessness before that deadline.
I think it's a generational moral failure that there are people who are sleeping without a roof over their head in a country as wealthy as Canada. I will not be able to say with a straight face that I have properly addressed the housing crisis if we still have to walk past people who are sleeping on the streets in Canada.
Well, in other news, RCMP in Harbour Grace used roadblocks and a spike belt to apprehend a speeding driver in a stolen vehicle. It happened Friday night. Police responded to a call that a 28-year-old had damaged a home and a parked vehicle before fleeing in an SUV. The driver reportedly rammed into two marked police vehicles and a parking gate during the pursuit. Police later located the abandoned vehicle, which was stolen in St. John's. The driver was later arrested and faces multiple charges, including 3 counts of assaulting a police officer with a weapon. He remains in custody.
It's one of the largest pieces of infrastructure needed for the Canada Games. And everybody knew it would be no small feat to take this 50-year-old building and modernize it to the 2025 standard. Now, a few months into the project, Memorial University can safely say that it will be ready for the Canada Games in 2025. However, for public users, they won't be allowed in until after that. Now, if this is something that you didn't know, let me tell you. For the first time since the project started, Memorial University is giving the public a peek inside the massive overhaul happening at one of the province's largest recreation facilities.
You can see over there, there's a lot of scaffolding up. The pool's been drained. We're doing plumbing work, electrical service work. The sprinkler system has been demolished. We've got the new addition. The footings are going in. We've got some structural reinforcement happening. So all the things you'd expect to happen in a major capital project.
It's months delayed from the original timelines, and there are some issues, like a skilled labor shortage, unforeseen problems fixing up a 50-year-old building, and sourcing materials.
Even steel actually has become a bit of a long lead procurement item. So just given the nature of where we are in the construction cycle, post-pandemic, etc., there are things that take a little bit longer perhaps than what you first anticipate.
Back in July, the hope had been that this work would take a year, at least. But that was before the contractors took over the site. Now the university says keeping people out longer should make the work go faster.
When we were sharing last year, it was really that we figured the closure would be at least a year, and then we'd look at phased access to return thereafter, always prioritizing athlete training and development, obviously, given the nature of the complex with public access thereafter.
With work ongoing inside and out, user groups have now been told it'll take longer than they thought before they're getting back in the building.
When you speak to the different groups, they're disappointed not to be getting back there very quickly, but they also understand that there's a lot of work happening, and there is progression to all of this. They're excited that there's going to be a new facility for them to train in. It's not just about what's going to happen tomorrow, it's the next 30 years.
There are high hopes for this finished product, similar to when the building was built in the late 70s. Despite being delayed, there is some good news. It's still on budget. Jeremy Eaton, CBC News, St. John's.
Have you ever dreamed of shifting to a 4-day work week? Well, the Canadian Mental Health Association has decided to make the move at some of its locations across the country, including here in this province. The association says going down a day has improved productivity and the well-being of staff, and it's hoping to lead by example.
We want people to know about it because we want to change the sector. We want to change the minds of employers. We want to say, look, this is something that we believe that we can do that's been good for our organization, and empower other managers to try it, empower workers to ask for it. So we want to set an example for being an organization that cares for our employees' mental health and give someone something to point to when they go to their boss and say, hey, do you think we could try this? It worked for CMHA.
And we'll hear more from the CMHA about why it adopted a 4-day work week a little later. But now we turn to the fishery. Scientists and fishermen are trying to figure out why swordfish off Canada's east coast are being found in large numbers further north than usual. An increasing part of the fishery has moved to the Grand Banks and Flemish Cap off Newfoundland. Paul Withers reports.
2023 was a banner year in the swordfish business. 1,900 tons caught, nearly a third off Newfoundland, much of it by fishing boats from Nova Scotia. A rapid shift from the previous decade when the entire Canadian catch was off Nova Scotia.
I think what's really interesting when we look at the data from Newfoundland is that for every, say, 1,000 hooks, we're seeing many more fish and we're seeing larger fish.
What's not clear is if it's the result of a warming ocean or a cyclical and temporary event. Swordfish were caught in Newfoundland years ago.
We suspect the fish have always been on the Grand Banks. Just that, it makes no sense to steam 4 days and have the extra expense if you can fish in your own backyard, so to speak.
The shift has coincided with a collapse in landings in the harpoon fishery off southern Nova Scotia over the last 3 years. The fishery relies on the fact swordfish normally surface during the day. One question is whether they are basking less because of warming temperatures below the surface. Scientist Kyle Gillespie not sure why this is happening.
It's really unclear if this is kind of a new normal due to climate change, or whether that biomass is going to shift back again south, as we think it did historically. So this is something that we're trying to figure out.
Gillespie tried to attach satellite tags on swordfish off Nova Scotia last year to track their movements, but could not find a single fish on the surface, itself remarkable. This year, the tagging operation will move to Newfoundland. Paul Withers, CBC News, Halifax.
Well, the head of the province's health authority is retiring. In a news release, the Premier and the Health Minister thanked Newfoundland and Labrador Health Services President David Diamond for his work. They say they'll start looking for his replacement soon. Diamond will stay on until the end of June. Well, it is Pancake Day, and for some housing groups in the province, Shrove Tuesday is also an annual day to fundraise. In St. John's and Happy Valley Goose Bay, volunteers were off to an early start to bring in funds for housing programs.
We're doing this to raise awareness and education for the town of Happy Valley Goose Bay around housing needs and initiatives in our community, to raise some money to help with the housing needs, whether it's eviction prevention, medication, food, what have you. But we're here today to raise awareness and educate the community on there is housing needs in our community and people need help.
Thank you. Oh, it's a broken.
When I was coming up here, I had heard that this fundraiser was going on, so I decided that I'd certainly take it in and try to meet as many people as possible while I was here. A great breakfast, a great community effort too as well, a great crowd, and I think that's the spirit of Goose Bay. People, come together.
We're here today at Gower Street United celebrating Pancake Day, and this is our 19th year hosting a pancake breakfast that also raises awareness around housing and homelessness issues. This event is important for Stella Circle and for our community and the people who live in our community because the event really brings people together as a fundraiser, but also as a way to raise awareness about housing and homelessness issues. And the money that is raised from this event goes back into supporting programs and services that Stella Circle offers, specifically targeting housing and homelessness. So we love that people come out and enjoy the pancake breakfast, which is prepared by our Hungry Heart Cafe, a social enterprise. But more importantly, people are coming out and contributing money that goes into real opportunities and real supports for people who need it. It's a feel-good event, but we're also trying to raise awareness about the importance of individuals in our community who don't have a safe place to stay or they don't have an affordable place to live. And we're seeing more and more people coming looking for that kind of affordability, yes, but the supports that go with maintaining their housing stability.
Got some storm chips and, ready to bunker down for tomorrow.
I actually went out for a walk this morning to be physically fit and prepared for the storm.
Yes, get your storm chips, get your roses, and get your shovels. Shoppers in eastern Newfoundland make a last-minute run to the store.
Yeah, definitely a good night to do that because tomorrow, very different story thanks to this area of low pressure just to the south there. It is going to bring significant snow. We'll talk about just how much when I come back.
CBC is highlighting Black changemakers from Atlantic Canada who are making a difference, inspiring others and shaping the future.
I don't need to change Canada. I just need to change Fredericton.
I got into politics kind of just to show people that, you know, we need a voice too from the other side of the table.
Education is a life-changing opportunity, and there is joy in just accomplishing that.
Last year, individuals across Atlantic Canada received recognition for making positive impact through large and small actions.
I try to show up fully as myself. I speak with my whole chest, and I just hope that when I'm entering this space, it inspires others to be who they are.
I'm committed to the idea of making sure marginalized, racialized, indigenous groups are actually at the table where decisions are being made.
We hope that any small change we can make, anything that we can do to have the future generations and kids not experience racism, not experience hatred.
This year, we are asking you to help us identify Black change makers who are bringing positive change to your community. So, nominate someone today.
I'm from Sydney, Nova Scotia, and I'm a Black change maker.
I'm a Black change maker.
And I'm a Black change maker.
Well, Exploits Valley SPCA is holding a special and cheeky Valentine's Day fundraiser. They're calling it Neuter Your Ex. And no, they don't mean it literally. They're taking cues from other shelters across the country who are encouraging people to sponsor a spay or neuter fee.
And in return, a cat will be named after an ex. The SPCA says it's all in good fun and it's first names only. The group also won't be sharing the names of those making donation.
That is pretty cheeky. All right, Ashley, staying with Valentine's Day, many of us are bracing for that Valentine's Day storm tomorrow. We're already hearing about some things closing. Just got a note from City Hall. City Hall is going to close tomorrow, and recreation facilities are closing tomorrow. So, yeah, a lot of people getting ready for this.
Yeah, not surprising considering the amount of snow in the forecast over the next couple of days. Certainly going to see the worst of the conditions as we head into tomorrow. So let's start with what's happening today. A decent day out there for the most part, about 0 degrees in St. John's. You factor in the temperatures up across Labrador, even better considering where you should be sitting this time of year. -3 in Nain this afternoon and about -8 in Lab City. So far this evening, though, temperatures are dropping and they're going to stay pretty much around here as we head into the next couple of days. We're really not going to see a whole lot of movement in the temperatures, especially across the island. But at the moment, we've got a wind chill around -4 in St. John's and up across Labrador, the coolest temperatures in Lab City at about -13 with that wind chill. So the only weather that we're really seeing at the moment is some flurry activity on the west coast of the island, otherwise fairly quiet, and that's really going to be the story as we head through the night tonight. Showing up on radar anyway, we do have some snow up across Labrador, and that will generally continue tonight. Now, as we head into the overnight period, this is when we're going to start to see some of that snow move in, mainly starting on the south coast of the island and the southern areas of the Avalon. And eventually, by the time we get into about 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, most of us in eastern Newfoundland anyway should be seeing that snow, even through portions of central as well. Note the winds about 40 to 60 kilometers per hour around the 6 o'clock in the morning hour. Temperatures tonight, like I said, not moving a whole lot from where we are in the east anyway. You head further west and along this low-lying areas, we will see those temperatures dipping into the -teens. And then for Labrador, the coldest temperatures will be in Lab City tonight at about -11. Most areas across Labrador in the north and the west anyway will be seeing those winds out of the northeast anywhere from 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. But it's as we head towards the morning hours that we will start to see some of that snow ramp up. All of my warnings just disappeared on me, but we do have those winter storm warnings in effect for the island and then parts of Labrador as well as we head into, basically you're going to see your snow continue as we head into Saturday. So let's time it all out. Along with the winds, we will see that snow continue to get heavy right through the afternoon hours, mostly for eastern Newfoundland, but even through central as well, where you're going to be seeing those gusts anywhere from 50 to as much as 60 kilometers per hour. But at this point, the strongest winds will be for eastern Newfoundland, where we're talking about 60 to 80 kilometers per hour. Now, know what happens. That rain-snow line does look like southeastern portions of the Avalon will see a changeover to either ice pellets or rain into the afternoon hours, but it is sitting just offshore. But most models are keeping that rain-snow line just offshore, but look at how close that is, uncomfortably close. So if we do see that, it will bring us on the lower end of the snowfall totals here in the metro area. Avalon and then through, say, to Bonavista and even to Gander, we could be talking about, significant amounts of snow. How much? Well, I'm putting us in the 40 to 60 centimeter range. I do think 30 centimeters is a given at this point. Whether we see, 40 to 60, this takes us through to Friday, so it's certainly possible. Now, it drops off fairly quickly once you get through, say, Grand Falls, Windsor, westward, significantly less snow. Now, Grand Falls, Windsor, you're pretty much on the cusp there. You could see 20 to 40 centimeters, but then up across Labrador as well, that snow continuing even more so through Friday, but we're looking at between 30 to as much as 60 centimeters of snow, certainly possible. So now, as far as your temperatures are concerned tomorrow, like I said, with the winds, we're generally sitting around the 0 degree mark. As you head towards the west coast, those temperatures will be a tad cooler, much less windy through the day as well. Conditions through central will get worse, especially later in the day. And then up across Labrador, you're looking at your temperatures around the 0 degree mark or a little bit below as you head towards the western portion of Labrador. We'll talk about the long range forecast when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, ahead of tomorrow's big storm, many people were out making last-minute trips to their local supermarket today, and they're not just stocking up on the storm chips. As our Jessica Singer learned, they're also doing last-minute shopping for their Valentines.
Valentine's Day is very special to me. It's my favorite day of the year.
Why is that?
I think it's a ladies' day, and forget the men, forget it, and think about the ladies.
You a ladies' man?
Not really, but I think women are the greatest thing in the world.
You know what? Amen. That's right. So are you preparing for the storm right now?
I am, absolutely. Got to pick up some groceries, make sure we're good for a couple of days at least, because we're pretty worried about the storm going a few days over for sure.
Okay, why so late? The storm's coming quick.
I'd honestly just leave everything to the last minute.
So what brought you to Sobeys? Any last minute prep?
Not really, just got some storm chips and, ready to bunker down for tomorrow.
What flavor of storm chip?
Oh, my wife's favorite, smoky bacon.
There's a big storm coming overnight tonight. Yes. How are you preparing for it? I actually went out for a walk this morning to be physically fit and prepared for the storm. I also went grocery shopping with my daughter yesterday before everybody went out today and bought chips and all kinds of good stuff to eat to keep us warm and well fed. And I'm actually staying at my daughter's tonight because, just because. Okay, wonderful. And I see you have some salt as well. I do, for an Epsom salt bath. Oh, nice. Is that also how you're going to spend your day tomorrow? Yes. Yes. And so you're thinking about your wife. I see you have some flowers here.
100% is Valentine's. You got to think about the people you love.
What are you doing for Valentine's Day tomorrow, even though it's going to be snowing?
Oh, you never know. Surprise, hopefully. Yeah.
Oh, you're going to surprise your wife. You don't want to share too many of the details on camera?
Exactly. Well, when is this going to air? Because I hope she don't see it tonight.
Me and my husband actually decided this year, we kind of thought there was going to be a storm coming, so we postponed our Valentine's till next week.
Okay, and so what are you doing next week?
We're going to stay in a hotel.
Well, I'm celebrating Valentine's. To get that over with, I'm going home and put my feet up, enjoy a scotch.
We're bringing in more money. And so having a happy, inspired, dedicated workforce is really, the juice is worth the squeeze. So sometimes I think we assume more hours in the office means more productivity. And then I would ask yourself, how productive are you on a Friday afternoon?
Maybe keep that answer to yourself. The Canadian Mental Health Association says switching to a 4-day work week makes good business sense and creates happier employees. Why they say more employers should consider it. A commercial for Verbo, a vacation rental company, continues to draw controversy. It aired during Sunday's Super Bowl using a traditional Newfoundland folk song. Now, the province's tourism department is calling for the ad to be removed, and it's fighting back with an ad of its own. Here Now's Heather Gillis has more.
This looks like an actual farm.
Looks cute on the app.
This Verbo ad has Kirk Saunders shaking his head. It uses Eyes the Buys, a popular traditional Newfoundland folk song. He first saw the ad play during the Grammys, then again during the Super Bowl.
It's upsetting. It brings on feelings of being disrespected. It brings on a sense of Newfoundland and Labrador being subpar.
It's personal for Deborah Borden, a tourism operator in Twillingate, one of the towns named in the song. She's the chair of the province's Tourism Industry Association, a sector that rakes in more than $1 billion a year and employs 20,000 people in the province.
I just couldn't believe it, but I just felt like it showed it in such a poor light. I mean, rural Newfoundland, we're quaint, we're warm, we're hospitable, we're all those things.
She calls the ad wrong and wants to see it taken down.
Whoever did this obviously doesn't know anything about Newfoundland and Labrador, and most certainly doesn't know anything about rural Newfoundland and Labrador. So it's disappointing. We have 4 and 4.5 star and 5-star accommodations located in Twillingate.
What does Verbo have to say about all this? Well, they say the ad is a dig at their competitors, not people in Newfoundland.
Still, the province's tourism minister, Steve Crocker, is calling for the ad to be removed, saying the province offers so much more to Verbo's customers. He says it's not an accurate representation of our province, our culture, or our people.
I's the buys that builds a boat, I's the buys that sails her.
The department is fighting back with a tourism ad of its own, showcasing what it calls the real Newfoundland and Labrador, using the same song with a very different message. Meanwhile, Saunders says he won't be booking a vacation with Verbo anytime soon.
Truthfully, I've never used Verbo before. I certainly will never at this point.
But I do know many Newfoundland accommodators that use it. I've had messages from some of them over the last couple days. And so everyone is disappointed and everyone is talking about never using it again.
The company has responded to a senator for the province telling him it's taking steps to remove the ad, though it didn't give a timeline or an apology. Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, it's the stuff of dreams for many people, but for the employees here at the Canadian Mental Health Association in the province, the 4-day work week has become a reality. Joining me now to talk more about this is the CEO, Chandra Kavanagh. So first of all, can you tell us about the pilot project that you did and how this idea first came about?
Absolutely. So there were a number of different things that inspired this project. First of all was COVID-19, and the results of COVID-19 were that we were inspired to think critically and think differently about the way that we work in the world. So everything from working from home to condensed working hours and things like 4-day work weeks. Then in addition to that, we had feedback from our employees that they were very interested in trying something like this. And there are other CMHAs across the country that have been engaging in this 4-day work week pilot. So we decided to give it a try and found that the results were incredible, not only for our employees, for their mental health, for their work-life balance, but also for our organization. We are flying higher than ever, and we can attribute some of that to the fact that our employees are so inspired at work.
And you mentioned mental health. Clearly, the Canadian Mental Health Association, mental health is a priority. What did employees say to you on that front? Like, how did it help their mental health?
We had very exciting feedback from our employees. So they found that they were coming to work more excited, more motivated to work. They were more disciplined because they had to think so carefully about how they were using their time. And also, their lives were changed. So they got to spend more time with their children, more time with their parents, more time with their families and their loved ones. They got to engage in passion projects and re-enliven old hobbies that they may have had, more time for exercise and meal prep and all the things that keep you healthy. So I think overall it was really exciting for our employees, and they saw immediate benefits when it came to their working lives and their home lives as well.
So how does it work? Is it that the employees work the same number of hours, but just condensed into 4 days?
So this is a great question because there are a number of different ways that people can engage with the 4-day work week or engage with alternate working situations. And I would say that any of them can be exciting. Any of them can work for a variety of sectors. So what works for us may not work for you. That doesn't mean nothing will work for you. But in our case, we do not have a condensed work week. We do not have any reduction in pay. We have Fridays off. And so we work Monday to Thursday. And some people have asked me about that. So in terms of condensed work weeks, that would mean that people would be working 10 hours a day. And given that one of the protective benefits of the 4-day work week is that people get to relax more and spend more time with their loved ones, asking them to work 10-hour days is very challenging. In addition to that, asking for a reduction in pay is also challenging to people's mental health. And one of the things that I've brought up is that we're not actually asking them to produce any less or do any less work. We're asking them to do the same amount of work, or in our case, we're a growing organization, we're asking them to do more work, just in fewer hours in the day. So asking for a reduction in pay in that case wouldn't be very fair, given that we're expecting them to produce the same results.
Now, some employers might look at this and think, okay, well, we're just basically giving our employees an extra day off. That might hurt productivity, it might hurt profitability. What would you say to employers who are like, I just can't let my employees just have an extra day off for nothing?
I think it's a really good question, and it's also a very common attitude. So a lot of employers will see something like this, a lot of managers will see something like this and say, well, this is not the way that we've ever done it, and worry about the kind of things that you mention. And what I would say is, consider giving it a try. Just because you have a pilot doesn't mean that you need to go through with it if you find that it's really detrimental to your business or to your company. But I come from a for-profit space. I was formerly the director of Bounce Health Innovation. We worked with startups. I understand how precious time can be, especially in that for-profit space. But what we have found is that our productivity has increased. We're doing more. We're engaging in more projects, we're engaging more with our audience, we're engaging in more grant applications, we're bringing in more money. And so having a happy, inspired, dedicated workforce is really, the juice is worth the squeeze. So sometimes I think we assume more hours in the office means more productivity. And then I would ask yourself, how productive are you on a Friday afternoon? How many jobs out there are people, watching cat videos for a couple hours a day? How many hour-long meetings could have been 15 minutes? We don't have any hour-long meetings that could have been 15 minutes here. We don't have any 15-minute meetings that could have been an email here. And part of that is because of the 4-day work week and because our people are passionate and they want to protect that.
And how refreshed are you on a Monday?
Absolutely.
Well, Chandra Kavanagh, thank you so much for this. Really appreciate hearing about this change.
Thank you very much for having me, and happy to chat anytime.
Because of sword fighting, now I can do a lot more stuff that I couldn't before. I've been more confident.
Building confidence and sword skills at the Terra Nova School of Swords. We swing by their open house. That's ahead. Well, sword fighting is an old school skill that some consider part martial arts, part fantasy. But at Terra Nova School of Swords, students are being taught historical sword fighting rooted in actual skills passed down through the ages. The CBC's Nabila Qureshi swung by to see real weaponry and some lightsabers in action.
Because of sword fighting, now I can do a lot more stuff that I couldn't before. I've been more confident because you have to be really confident to have to sword fight. It's so much fun.
I think you just enjoy hitting me.
Yeah, yeah, I do enjoy hitting you with a sword. It's very fun.
My name is Philip Swift, headmaster and owner of Terra Nova School of Swords. I was always intrigued in martial arts growing up, and I was always into those kung fu movies with swords, and I'm a bit of a fantasy nerd as well, Dungeons and Dragons, that kind of thing, Lord of the Rings. I've always wanted to have a career in martial arts, but I just didn't know how to start it. And that transformation happened when I walked into this world of historical European martial arts. I was taught by a master from Chicago, and I kind of brought all the knowledge here.
I particularly like the historical fencing aspect of it. Phil and the other instructors here put a real emphasis on being historically accurate, relying on historical texts for different techniques. I find that really appealing. There's also sort of there's a Star Wars element, sure, and there's, making it look cool. And so it feels a bit kind of silly in a way, we're waving around these plastic swords, but, that requires real skill here, and you kind of get over the silliness factor really quickly.
My name is Spencer Scott. I teach 3 classes here, the Polish Saber and Scottish Broadsword. A lot of the things we're studying, we have the manuals and stuff from dueling masters and that. So as the people with the fancier swords and with time to study things, it's a bit more complex than just kind of clubbing each other,
My name is Edmund Quigley, and I'm a junior instructor at Terra Nova Swords.
Today at the open house, what will you be demonstrating?
I know I have at least one fight lined up with a man who's bringing a great sword, one of the big Spanish montantes, taller than I am. Other than that, I'm usually just open to any fights possible.
What would you like people to know before they consider fencing or getting into martial arts?
That they can do it.
We started in the LED program with the 2 of us doing lightsaber together, and I do Wednesday night broadsword, one-handed broadsword and saber classes. My hands-down favorite thing is the fact that I get to do it with her. She can push me and challenge me. Honestly, I think the funnest thing is I never know who's going to win.
Our programs start at 8 years old, and our oldest member is in the 70s. Our sport, it's basically chess at 100 kilometers an hour. You don't have to be the fastest and strongest. You could be the smartest and win. In a way, this is sort of therapy, right? You get to hit things safely.
Okay, time for a look at the long-range forecast, but it's hard to look too far ahead beyond what's coming tomorrow. That's what everyone's talking about.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this one is kind of in the long-range forecast, really, because we've got, you know, tomorrow and then Thursday and then again into Friday.
So it's still going to be snowing on Friday?
Well, Friday morning.
Okay.
But for other people, we're still going to see it. Let's just jump right into the forecast. Easiest to show you with the graphics. So there's that area of low pressure on Wednesday evening. We are still going to be seeing very gusty conditions through the day on Wednesday and into the evening hours for most of eastern Newfoundland. In fact, some of us could still be seeing that snowfall, the snowfall rates anywhere from 2 to 4 centimeters an hour, and that will be combined with some fairly strong winds as well. So anywhere from 60 to as much as 80 kilometers per hour. Now, coastal areas of Labrador, you will also see that snow, but this is going to continue for you through Friday. Same area of low pressure is affecting you as well. So as we head into Thursday morning, although snowfall rates will be significantly less, maybe 1 or 2 centimeters an hour, we are still going to see some fairly gusty winds all along the northeast coast. The difference, we'll see northeasterlies tomorrow, then we see northwesterlies on Thursday. So all of that snow that was blowing one way is going to blow right back in the other way as we head into Thursday evening. So this is when we should really start to see some of that snow ramp up across coastal areas of Labrador and now Northern Peninsula. You are in play for this one as well. Now there is a chance that we could see some mixing towards the coast as well with this, which would bring down some snowfall totals into Thursday. But overall, we're looking at temperatures around 0 or even a degree above along the northeast coast. The further west you get, we're looking at those temperatures into the minus single digits. And Lab City, you set this one out, you're going to sit around minus 12 through the day with lots of sunshine. Still expecting to see lots of snow through Happy Valley Goose Bay as well over a long stretch of time. But you could be talking about 25 to as much as 50 centimeters of snow basically through Saturday. So as we head into Thursday evening and Friday, this is when by Friday morning we should see that snow end. It may end as some freezing drizzle on Friday morning along the northeast coast, but for the most part, most of the snow will be over. Now the west coast, you're going to be in that onshore flow, which means you could start to see some accumulating snow from this thanks to that. And coastal areas of Labrador still very much in the thick of it right into Saturday. So our temperatures on your Friday will be back below 0 right across the board. In fact, we should be down to about -5 in Corner Brook and about -13 for those of you in Lab City, otherwise minus single digits towards coastal areas of Labrador. Let's skip ahead to the long range forecast. We are going to see around minus single digits as we look into Saturday and Sunday. For St. John's and eastern Newfoundland. Now for western Newfoundland, you're going to stay in that snow, but we should see some sun through central. And then for the coast of Labrador and eastern Labrador, again, it is going to be a snowy week. Temperatures will be below 0, even colder as we get into the weekend. And then for western Labrador, you are looking at minus teens. Nice stretch of weather, but cold into the minus teens through Sunday. Now our weather photo.
Wow.
This is a dramatic photo of the fog along the coast there. Thank you so much to Eugene. He always sends in such great photos. This one is no exception. I do think we'll see a lot more snow than that on the coast over the coming days. But if you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, you can send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Oh, just beautiful. It's like a Game of Thrones. I feel like I'm flying on the back of a dragon looking down at the landscape. Gorgeous shot. Thank you very much, Eugene. And at least it looks like it's going to be a nice few days after the storms for cleanup. Yeah, so that's something good.
Yeah. Oh, and the snow is not going to be light. That's the other thing. I keep forgetting to mention that.
It's going to be heavy snow.
Nice and heavy.
Okay, great. For the back. Okay. Well, that's it for us. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope to see you again tomorrow.
Good night.